prairie stretched endlessly under the glow of a half-moon, silver light spilling across the rolling plains and jagged rocks as the desert wind whispered secrets of old trails and lost battles. When Jacob Turner, a rancher known for his solitude and stern silence, was riding home late after selling cattle in town, his hat was pulled low, his rifle slung across his saddle, his heart as steady and calm as the stars above, until a cry pierced the stillness, sharp, desperate, and unlike anything he had heard in years. Instinct jerked the reins in his hands, and his horse bolted toward the sound, hooves pounding the dusty ground. And soon Jacob saw the source. 3 outlaws, rough men with whiskey-stained breath and laughter as cruel as knives, had cornered a young woman against a rock ledge, her dress torn, her face pale yet burning with defiance as she swung a broken branch to keep them back. They mocked her bravery, circling like wolves, certain of her capture. When Jacob's boots hit the ground and his voice cut through the night like iron, "Stand behind me." The woman froze, eyes wide, then obeyed, stepping behind his broad shoulders, her trust immediate though they were strangers. Jacob's hand settled on his rifle, his stance unshakable, his presence towering like a wall between her and the danger. For years he had lived alone, no soul close enough to need his protection. But under that half-moon, for the first time in a long time, Jacob Turner knew his life was about to change forever. The leader of the outlaws, a scar-faced brute with a knife in his hand, sneered at Jacob, his voice dripping with mockery as he drawled, "You really think you can take the 3 of us, cowboy?" The other 2 chuckled, their pistols loosely dangling at their sides, confident they outnumbered him. But Jacob's eyes narrowed, his voice low and calm, like the rumble of thunder before a storm. "Try me." Tension snapped tight like a drawn bowstring, and the desert seemed to hold its breath. One outlaw shifted too fast, his hand brushing the grip of his revolver, and Jacob's rifle cracked before the man's gun even cleared the holster, the shot echoing across the canyon, the outlaw falling into the dirt with a choked cry. The other 2 cursed, startled, realizing this was no ordinary rancher. They faced a man with the patience of solitude and the accuracy of a hawk. Clara, as the woman later whispered her name to him, gasped, clutching Jacob's arm, but his focus was unbroken. The surviving men spat in the dust, muttered threats, and mounted their horses, retreating into the darkness, leaving their dead behind. Silence returned, heavy and sharp, broken only by Clara's sob of relief as her legs gave out, and Jacob caught her, steadying her trembling frame. "You're safe now," he murmured, carrying her to his horse, his touch unexpectedly gentle for a man forged in loneliness. As they rode back to his ranch, Clara leaned weakly against him, whispering bits of her story, how she had fled a cruel family and been chased by men who wanted to sell her like property. Jacob listened in silence, the desert stretching wide and endless around them. But something stirred inside him, something fierce and new. He wanted to be the man who made sure no one ever laid a hand on her again. Days passed on Jacob's ranch, the quiet routine of cattle, fences, and the wide sky now broken by Clara's presence, her soft voice filling the silence, her determination to help despite her exhaustion slowly weaving life into a place long barren of warmth. She swept the porch, fetched water, and though her hands blistered from the work, she smiled, proud to stand on her own 2 feet. At night, they sat by the fire, and she told him more of her story, how her stepfamily had despised her for being barren land's daughter, how they had struck a bargain with those men to rid themselves of her. Jacob's jaw clenched as he listened, his chest heavy with anger. But he never interrupted, never judged, only offered her the steady comfort of his presence. In return, Clara asked about his life, about why he lived alone, and he told her of the family he lost to fever years ago, the reason he built walls of silence around himself, walls no one had breached until her. Their bond grew like wildflowers in dry earth, small but stubborn, refusing to wither. Yet shadows still lingered. Jacob knew men like those outlaws didn't forget humiliation. They would return, and next time they'd come ready. He began preparing in quiet ways, sharpening his knives, fixing the fences so cattle wouldn't be startled, and teaching Clara how to reload his revolver. At first she trembled, but her eyes hardened with resolve, and she promised she would not be helpless again. Together they stood at the porch one evening, watching the sun bleed into the horizon, and Jacob said softly, "If trouble comes again, we'll face it together." And for the first time, Clara believed she had a place where she belonged. The Storm broke one moonless night, the distant thud of hooves carrying across the plains. Torchlight flickering on the horizon. Vengeance was coming. Jacob stood tall on the porch, rifle ready, every muscle coiled for the fight he had long anticipated. Clara clutched his arm, fear shining in her eyes. But before he could speak, she whispered fiercely, "I won't hide. I'll stand with you." Jacob nodded, pride swelling in his chest, though every instinct urged him to protect her. The outlaws thundered in, shouting curses, their guns gleaming, but Jacob didn't waver. Shots cracked, fire lit the night, and chaos swept across the ranch. Jacob fought with the precision of a man who knew each breath might be his last. Every bullet finding its mark, every move protecting Clara. When one outlaw broke through, lunging at her, Clara swung a lantern with desperate strength, flames bursting and scattering the men, her courage proving as fierce as Jacob's. At last the dust settled. Bodies littered the ground and silence returned, broken only by Clara's ragged sobs as she threw herself into Jacob's arms. He held her tight, his heart pounding not from the fight but from the realization of what she meant to him. "It's over," he whispered into her hair, his voice thick with emotion. "You're safe now, with me." Under the pale glow of the half-moon that emerged from the clouds, Jacob Turner was no longer just a lonely rancher, and Clara was no longer a woman with no place to call home. Together they had faced the darkness and found light in each other, and as dawn broke over the plains, the ranch was no longer silent. It echoed with the promise of a shared life, a love born in fire and courage. "Dear viewers, that was Stand Behind Me," he said, "Lonely Rancher Saves." Woman Under the Half Moon, best. Wild West stories. If you love this story and want more gripping, heart-touching tales of courage, love and survival in the Wild West, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this video so others can ride with us through these unforgettable journeys. Your support keeps these stories alive.